I totally believe that creativity is an addiction, and when you're not there to feed it, it's going to react. Unplugged, because we will always say yes to creativity. Totally Uncut, because we all make mistakes, so turn it into a tool. This is Arroe Unplugged. I'm not going to lie to you. I have been writing in a forest pretty much all my life. And so like in 2015, I was at the Billy Graham Library, and I chose to write in that forest, and I did a thing called the Lyrics from Billy's Forest. But I've never recorded an episode while sitting in a forest. That's where I presently am right now. I've never done this before. It's always been in the studio, taking the words that came to me while sitting in the forest, but I've never been in the forest to record an episode. So I don't have my scripts in front of me. So this is going to be a weird one, and if it makes you uncomfortable, I apologize. But this right here, this is what we call the Lyrics from Billy's Forest. Chapter number 280 was written on September 18th, 2021, and today's date happens to be February 2nd, 2022, so several months have gone by. This is what the poet wrote. The world doesn't stop. We do. The evidence sits in this forest right here. No matter what has been generated in the headlines, these trees, long grasses, slow-paced stream, wild animals, they move in forward motion, while the human wonders about yesterday, trying to sculpt the perfect tomorrow, or just stops because it felt right. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Steven Van Zandt recently talked about his regret for quitting the E Street Band. Things were just not greener on the other side of the fence like he had hoped. Compared to this forest, I don't know who lives on the opposite side. I know one night a few years back they chose to use an arrow to bring down a doe, so I posted no hunting signs all throughout the forest. Whoever lives on the other side removed those signs and put them in my driveway. Well, I wasn't in the mood to fight with anybody, and I'm sure they weren't either. Both sides were heard. The world doesn't stop. We do. It's the power of choice. It's not often the best walk. But in that thought, it just feels like that we have to fulfill a need to release. I stopped putting paint on a canvas. I'm not convinced that it was a bad idea. When we just stop. I'd like to turn that around and talk about when we should have stopped. And the reason why is because so many of us are locked into habits that we can't break, that we keep going no matter what, and we deal with that habit as it happens, and it's like, it's just who I am. How many times have you heard people say that? How many times have you said that? And so when should you have stopped? And I'm going to be blunt and very honest with you. My radio career, 42 years strong, I think I should have stopped 5 or 10 years into it. I should have realized in the very beginning, I like to perform on the two-speaker stage, but I don't have what it takes to be that big on-air talent, to be that morning show. And it's not that I didn't have the skills, I just didn't have the teachers that were going to give me the options of growing into those shoes. When you sit down and you talk to a lot of performers, they'll tell you they had inspirations, or they'll tell you there were people that drove them madly crazy, and because they did, they were able to take that negative energy and take chances on their life. I was always in that mode of, I'm afraid of losing my job. 26 years, that's all I lived. I'm afraid of losing my job. So when somebody would say, will you do this? Yes. Not even thinking about it. Yes. Yes. And so the habit is that everybody else knew I would do it for them. And then this way, they didn't have, when they weren't in the mood to do it, they would say, hey, will you do? Yes. I always said yes. And then when I got tired of saying yes and I started saying no, what do you think that did to that other person? It made it look like I wasn't the team player anymore. Oh, what's gotten into you? When should you have stopped? Now, is my daily writing one of those situations where I should have stopped many months or years ago? I don't think that's true. I rely too much on that as being a tool. But in your own personal life, what has gone on in your life that you should have stopped a while back? And could you have lived without it? I know that as a martial artist, being a third-degree black belt, it required a lot of mind, body, and soul. My body was beat up badly. So what happened is that I decided after my heart attack in 2009 that I would continue. Of course I would, because it's the mind, body, and soul. It's a way of life. I'm walking the black belt path. But as I aged and things began to happen as I got into my 50s. What did happen is that my body couldn't keep up. And do I blame it on the school? Yeah, I do. Because they put the adults with the 12-year-olds who could move a lot faster and could do a lot more things than the older people. And I would sit there with my Sabanima and say, you need to have a class for people of my age. Well, you do. It's right here. No, this class is not for people of my age. I should have stopped. And what I ended up doing was getting injured, where I've been injured now for several years. And living with that pain is because I chose not to stop. What in your life are you doing that you need to stop? So many times, people will get involved in it when it's too late. They will sit there and say, I should have stopped taking drugs. I should have stopped drinking alcohol. I should have stopped with this career because now I'm going to grow old in a really mean and angry way. I should have stopped. But because we're so used to that this is who we think we are in a normal world, as much pain as we try to hide from, we should have stopped. We should have stopped. I'm Arroe. These are not my words. These are the lyrics from Billy's Forest.